All right. Today we will be going over William Faulkner. That will be fine. I know a little about the story right now, which is primarily that it's about a kid who likes money, wants money, and it's told from his perspective. And he ends up helping his uncle do bad things for the sake in the blind pursuit of money. I also know that there is a sort of dramatic irony in the sense that the narrator himself is unreliable because he's a kid and he doesn't fully understand what's going on, but we know what's going on through the hints that the narrator unwittingly kind of shares with us. So I'm just kind of like, and that sets up a lot of humor, dramatic irony in this case, because maybe something ridiculous is happening that the narrator himself doesn't know about, is completely clueless about, and so that could be really funny. And I saw some reviews, and I'm actually going to skim through some reviews. But I just found that for stories like William Faulkner, like the reviews on Goodreads are just like on the money. They're so good. Like this, look at these reviews, man, on Goodreads. They're so long. One review. But there's this guy who just wrote this really long thing on Goodreads, and it's just a good review. I'm just kind of skimming through it right now, but this is giving me a sense of why this would be a story worth reading. So right now I'm in the pre-reading phase. Let me just kind of skim through a couple more paragraphs just to see some things that might be interesting in this book. Well, Faulkner also, the language of Faulkner will be another thing to pay attention to. Just his masterful sense of his mastery over the control in his control of the language. So I'm kind of excited for that. The final section of the story is unnerving. I'm going to skip over that because I kind of wanted to be surprised. Um, so yeah, I'm just looking at this long review. I'm skipping over the last parts of it. There's a very short summary, a short story involving a young kid who has a blind lust for money and is unwittingly involved with aiding and abetting his uncle in his scandalous behavior, petty theft, and scandalous womanizing with the married woman around town. Okay, so that's where the humor kind of comes from. So yeah, we have a sort of you know low grade petty criminal slash moral character in the form of the uncle. So I'm angling for the language, for the dramatic irony right now, and maybe just this snapshot of kind of the character of the texture of that town from back in that time. Now, I will also do a little bit more pre-reading by looking through the introduction essay or blurb for this story. So that's on the page right now. I should find a way to share my computer screen next time when I'm doing the research. Now that I think about it, next time I'll do that. So anyway, I'm moving from the computer screen now to the iPad, so you can kind of follow along. And I am gonna kind of zip through the introduction material just to find things that might be exciting or that I might want to be clued into when I'm reading this story. Poetry was no good except as an aid to lovemaking. Word from the wise, huh? It enables you to make men stand on their hind legs and cast a shadow. What an interesting sentence. Okay. Right. Stream of consciousness, I forgot about that. And the dialect. Yeah, so there's that. But portray a character's subjective experience. I think that's key to kind of understand for what, and that subjective experience is obviously aided and abetted by the stream of consciousness and the dialect, right? We're working within the confines of the subjectivity of that narrator, of that what that narrator can see, what that narrator can know, how that knowledge of that narrator is modulated through the feelings of that narrator. Not all narrators are, highly aware of everything that's going on around them. So yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to that particular tension that's created when the narrator himself doesn't really know what's going on. Also, I'm just hoping for funny sentences. All right, here we go. Now we're starting. I don't know why, but I just zoned out for a second. So I need to reset and just imagine the scene. I'm hearing the water. Presents. So maybe Christmas. Take them off the tree, Christmas. Okay. Grandpa's there, and we are there, and Mama's there. So, and Grandpa is too old because Mama said. So because Mama said, now we establish that we're in the position, we're in the perspective of a kid. Um, because Mama said, Rosie. We were trying to find out who Rosie is because could be house servant. 12 hit, by the way, is until it, right? Took me a second actually to process. Like, right. A dime is a lot of so a nickel is a lot of money for her. So there's actually that's crazy. I'll tell you what's in it for a nickel is a child's little bet, a little game. But for her, her salary for that day or week or whatever is a dime. So we're already, and plus we know the story's gonna be about money to some extent. So because the kid's gonna love money, and this is his first characterization. So I think the scale of the money that we're talking about is important here. So my prediction is we're gonna start dealing with much bigger chunks of money, and Rosie is gonna provide contrast to that somehow. And you won't pay me. Go and ask Mama to lend you a nickel. Okay, so he's sort of almost lecherous for this money. He really like, and you won't pay me. Go and ask Mama to lend you a nickel. Basically, he's trying to hustle his servant for a nickel. for providing information that's not valuable to her whatsoever. What a that's already kind of a I'm already disliking the character. I already dislike the character just from that one sentence. Okay. Zoned out again for a second. Scene. Presents all scattered out. You could smell it. Tomorrow night they'll begin to shoot the fireworks. Okay, so excitement for the boy. Then tomorrow we get on the train except Papa and go to Grandpa's. Christmas and Grandpa would take the presents off. Me to Uncle Rodney. All right, this is the bad uncle that I bought with Valentine. So he does use money to buy presents for his uncle. That's like nice. Take a dose of Grandpa's tonic, and maybe he'll give me another quarter for helping him. Instead of just a nickel. So this kid is really about that money. He's kind of invest. So I'm like feeling warmer about the kid sending the narrator, giving a gift, but then it's kind of like a investment. He's trying to get a quarter out of him. Maybe even half a dollar. I just couldn't wait. So you know what? That's already the big contrast right now from if you watch like movies about Christmas. Kids are excited about the gifts, right? But this kid is excited about the money he's going to get from Uncle Rodney. So that's a big contrast that we're setting up, or at least that I'm getting, from my perspective in 2021. I mean, I wonder what the concept of Christmas was back like 80 years, 90 years ago, but I'm yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not kids wanting money from their uncles. Although I'm just suddenly having this reaction, in East Asian cultures, definitely China and Korea, money is basically what you get, So I'm kind of curious, as kids in Korea or China, do they sort of look forward to getting money? And does that make them more similar to this kid in some way? This kid that I dislike. Anyway, just thinking about that randomly. Jesus, I can't hardly wait, I said. You wish, Jesus. Jesus, you let your mama hear you cussing. Yeah, I'll tell her myself. So he's a little impudent. Jeez, cussing. So the contrast that's being set up here right now, or like the choice that's being set up is, we could just spend some money to give Grandpa a gift out of the desire to give him a gift from Rosie's perspective. So Rosie's the voice of, well, I guess reason or common sense, I guess. So, you could definitely just give him a gift. But instead, you're all just thinking about making nickels. So that's Rosie's perspective. All right, whatever. That's not that interesting. Let's move on. Cook. So now we know Rosie is the cook. And maybe somebody ought to give Grandpa presents. Oh, so this is the child, and now he has that lingering thought. And so yeah, that's good. So we're sympathizing. Well, like, that makes me feel softer about the kid for a second. But now, but I'm pretty much set on disliking this kid. So we'll see. But I think he's gonna remain a sort of unlikable character for the rest of this story. Only maybe we ought to be on Luisa. Right, he's kind of shifting the responsibility to other people. Grandpa always looked at the present Uncle Ronnie gave Grandpapa and got so mad. Huh. So Uncle Ronnie doesn't give Grandpa a gift because Uncle Ronnie has a bad relationship with Grandpa. But Uncle Ronnie gives Mama and Papa gifts. So that means that's Grandpa should be getting a gift, but something's messed up in the family. Okay. So originally, I kind of believed the explanation that maybe I was thinking, Grandpa's kind of he's sort of like a cranky fellow. He just doesn't want gifts, and every time you try to give Grandpa a gift, he just like curses at you or something like that. That's what I was expecting. But now it turns out he actually wants the gift. It's just that Uncle Ronnie doesn't give him one, and Mama and Papa don't either. I'm not sure why. I'm struggling with at least $500 shorter than his pocketbook. So, like earlier, this idea of shorter or longer than the pocketbook. So over here, it wasn't Uncle Rodney's fault if his generosity was longer than his pocketbook. That means he's more generous than the amount of money he actually has. So then Uncle Rodney knew this one man in his connection, okay, whose generosity was $500 shorter than the pocketbook. I think there's $500 left over in his pocketbook. Like, this person is generous enough to share money, but not to use up the last $500. Now, $500, by the way, is way bigger than a quarter. She defied Papa to say that Uncle Ronnie stole the money that had been, and Papa knew it, and that Papa and most other men were prejudiced against Uncle Ronnie. Why she didn't know, and that if Papa begrudged having lent Uncle Ronnie. So the surprise is that it was actually that person was Papa. Okay, that was hard to get through actually, but Papa was the one who lent that money. So Papa doesn't have a good relationship with Uncle Ronnie, but it sounds like and Mama cried and said how Uncle Ronnie was baby. No, Mama doesn't like. They both don't are just they're okay. The Papa is uncomfortable with Uncle Ronnie, so I'm trying to figure out the emotions right now. Who's feeling what? Okay, so Grandpa wants a present. Mama got mad when Grandpa would look covetously at the present. But Uncle Ronnie gives Papa and Mama gifts. Why? Because he sort of loaned $500. So he loaned a lot of money. So maybe he has some sort of like shame about that. And Mama said Papa ought to be ashamed. Mama said that it wasn't Uncle Ronnie's fault if his generosity was longer than Papa said yes. I see. I mismapped who was saying what. So this passage is actually incredibly hard because there's no quotation marks. It's very easy to miss who is saying what. So over here, Mama said, Papa ought to be ashamed. So this is a very long sentence, by the way. And so this is the stream of consciousness that I'm realizing we're having to work through. The stream of consciousness is very hard to work through because kids just like thinking, talking, right? And it's all just commas and it's a lot of ands and ands and ands and ands. So it's very hard to process what's happening. But basically from here, Mama said Papa ought to be ashamed. Mama's actually defending Uncle Ronnie. Okay, and then Papa says, yeah, that part is not his fault. He never knew a man to try harder to get money than his brother did. That his brother tried every known plan. And that, so this means Papa's still the one saying this. If you, my wife, would just think back about 2 years ago, you would remember that time when Uncle Ronnie should have been thankful. That there was one man in his connection, or whatever Mama wants to call it. Okay, so this means from Papa's perspective, he's kind of telling the wife, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so this means that we're still not talking about Mama's perspective, we're talking about Papa's perspective. Was at least $500 shorter than his pocketbook. So that's the end of what Papa is saying. Now Mama's saying, yo, you tell me, you go out and say it. Tell me that your brother stole the money. Tell me that it was malicious persecution. Tell me you know it. Tell me that everyone is against Uncle Rodney. I don't know why, says Mama. But you tell me that if you begrudge, if you reluctantly lent that $500, those $500 when the family's good name was at stake, say so. Say that you regret it. Say that you would regret it so that Grandpa would pay you back. And then she began to cry. So this is still Mama. Oh, and then she began to cry. Oh, and she began to cry. I missed this. Oh, man. Okay. And then she began to cry. She actually started crying. So this is a very emotional fight, actually. And the kid completely the kid doesn't grasp it. But for Mom, this is a very emotional thing. Like, Mom is kind of trying to be on Uncle Ronnie's side, but I think she's also resentful that, like, Papa keeps shutting up about it, doesn't really talk about it. If Papa's upset about it, he should just say so. And then not just, like, resent his brother for, like, forever, So, right, she keeps crying and talking. Okay, I'm glad I went back and reread that because I did not even know the emotional stakes that were at play. Um, I did not know the emotional stakes that were at play until I went back and reread it. That was tough. The grammatical part of this, though, of how to get that is and that, and that, and that. Every time there's a and that means we're still continuing the dialogue or the thought process of the person who began that dialogue. So Mama said XYZ, and that ABC, and that DEF, right? So there's these long chains of these and that's, and that makes it really hard to understand what's going on. But as long as you pay attention to the and that, then you can kind of sort out who's saying what. In fact, I think it would be really good to just like have like a color pen and then just bracket off. Like kind of like put like these brackets around around the parts where it's about mama and it's about papa. I'm not going to do it on the page, but because I'm going to move on. But yeah, I think that'd be good to do. So handling his business is this like sort of vaguely ominous, open-ended word. Handling his business. What is handling his business? And what is this thing that mom and papa don't know that the kid knows for some reason? When I worked for him, okay, so he worked for him to handle the business. He preferred to do business with ladies because it wasn't anybody's business, not even Mr. Tucker's. So this is where the thing comes. Okay, we'll see. I'm getting the vibe that he runs a prostitution ring, but we'll see. I wonder who Mr. Tucker is. So we're waiting on Mr. Tucker to figure out what's going on. But definitely, the uncle is like saying to the narrator, "Hey, keep shut. Don't say anything about this." Through Mr. Tucker. Oh my God. Oh, I see. Until Mr. Tucker came out to go to town. And I will go, okay, so it's not prostitution. And watch until Mr. Tucker was out of sight. So he's watching for the husband to leave and put the hat on top of the fence post and leave it there until I saw Mr. Tucker coming back. Uncle Ronnie would always be through before then. In business with the other lady. Okay. Jesus. Uh, so a dose of the tonic before he paid me the quarter. So maybe he was drunk. I want actually I specifically what does tonic for me, a tonic is like kind of like right, like a medicinal thing. But I wonder if it's alcoholic at all. Maybe not. So maybe it's the other way around. Maybe you know what? I don't think that's important enough. I was just trying to figure out whether what the logic is. Like, why would the tonic be related to the quarter versus the 50 cents? But I don't know. I'm not super curious about that, so I'm going to skip. Okay. Bad management of my internal functions. I got to go to the restroom, so I'm going to go right back. I'll be back in a minute. Then we can continue with passage with part two. All right, let's go. Part two. Kind of wary of time. Technically, I have dinner time. Let me send a message to my mom so that she knows that I'm busy. All right, continuing. Part two. Got to be daylight at last, so didn't really sleep very well. Very excited boy. The hack, I'm not sure what that is. Heard the hack. Is that the rooster? Maybe it would be $50. Jesus, it would be fine. Okay. You're running out without even her head on. John Paul, some other family member. Into the hack. Is that like a car of some sort? All right, now I should look into this. Noun. Uh, okay, we don't have a lot of. Road on the box. Okay, yeah, it's like a carriage of some sort. Hired buggy. Okay, so I wasted time looking up the word hack when basically the explanation was 3 lines down, which is why, I don't always look up words right away, especially if it comes out multiple times. But this time I just kind of didn't wait long enough. So what's kind of touching is he's still thinking about the grandpa's present. There's an emotional part of him. There's a part of his emotions that's not resolved. Like it's like weird that grandpa's not getting a present to him. So he keeps thinking about it. At the same time, he's very excited about his 50 cents, his potential 50 cents. So yeah, these both of these emotions are alive in this child, and I think that's realistic. It's way more realistic than having only that one part of him always wanting money. That would make him into a caricature. John Paul laughs. Why Uncle Ronnie? That bastard, basically, right? Because I was shaped like a man. Uncle Ronnie only cares about people who are not shaped like men. He would not find use in anyone who is not shaped by men. So Uncle Ronnie is a lech. He's a lecherous man. He just pursues women. Um, that's like his identity. Even John Paul knows this. A job of work. Working all the time. Yeah, Jesus. Show. Reckon anything a man kept at all the time. He would call it work no matter how much fun it started out to be. Office the Compress Association. So John Paul might be another servant of some sort. Surely take a whole association to compress Uncle Ronnie. Oh, remember the nigger, and that meant John Paul, and so it must have been a present for Grandpa, and it didn't come. I don't fully understand what happened here. And Uncle Louis began to cry. I wonder why Aunt Louisa. Okay, so that's something we don't know, but it's somehow related to. It's definitely not related. Like this kid is definitely wrong, and so it must have been a present for Grandpa and it didn't come. Luis is not crying because a present for Grandpa didn't come, but we don't know what we don't know what the crying is about. Wow. Okay, I almost missed that again. She's crying. We don't know why. We definitely know that this narrator is wrong about it. He's definitely not because of a present. Okay. Uh, hmm. We didn't go on the train. Okay, so I don't know. I started zoning. You might have noticed I was rereading. I zoned out. I think I might have been in my own thoughts. But this first sentence is what got me back. We didn't go on the train after all. That's supposed to be another surprise. Okay, so this is hard to read. The reason this is hard to read is because this kid doesn't understand the significance. The narrator doesn't understand the significance of all the things that are happening. For him, it's just happening randomly. So he doesn't really build up our expectations because he himself doesn't know what's happening. So every detail, it's just like, oh, and then we didn't go out on the train after all. You just have to catch it and be like, wow, that's actually kind of a dramatic situation. The plan is all messed up. Aunt Louise is crying. Something's happening. We don't know what. But this kid doesn't have the narrator doesn't have the innate curiosity or understanding to figure out what exactly is happening. So the language and the situation are mismatched. The language of the narrator, that is. Mama was crying. Sunday clothes. Others caught him. I see. And that might mean Uncle Ronnie and Aunt Louisa might be husband and wife. So it sounds like Uncle Ronnie got caught, although in adultery, right? Cheating with somebody else's wife. John Paul to go home and tell Rosie to pack his Sunday suit and take her to a train. Didn't anybody know where he was? And Aunt Louisa quit crying a while and said how didn't come to supper last night. He came in, heard a step in the hall, waited her until they were in his room. He must have $2,000 and said, "Where in the world?" asked Fred, Aunt Louisa's husband. So that's someone else. So Aunt Louisa and Uncle Ronnie are siblings, and George, that was Papa. Knocking at the door. The sheriff. Don't tell Grandpa, right? Mr. Who? Mr. Pruitt, the president of the Compress Association. So Mr. Pruitt and the sheriff came knocking at the door. I see. Yeah. How he hated it to happen at Christmas too. And so for Grandpa's and Aunt Louisa's sake, he would give them until the day after Christmas. But Uncle Ronnie must not try to leave Mottstown. And how Mr. showed her with her, and Mr. Pruitt showed her with her own eyes. Oh, okay, right. With her own eyes is her language. Okay, showed her the check with Grandpa's name signed to it. Even Grandpa's name had been. So Uncle Ronnie might have been stealing money from Grandpa, from his father. I'm gonna take a quick pause. I'm um I'm surprised, and right now I feel really absorbed because I'm shocked at the tonal shift. It happens so fast. It's less humorous than I expected, and it's definitely like um, you know this whole situation, this kerfluffle, right, is like bubbling and it's pretty intense. And I wasn't expecting it to come this fast in Act Two. So there's three more acts I think after this. So I'm kind of not sure what happens. Like what could fill in that space. Honestly, in terms of predictions, he gets arrested. He tries to escape, gets arrested, gets hung. I don't know. In the early 1900s, they hang people for this. I don't know. And then Mama said, so up until here was just the aunt talking about, yeah, this is a whole bit of narration by aunt. And then Mama said, Louisa, remember Georgie? And that was me. By hiding the newspapers. So Georgie is the name of the narrator. We finally get Georgie. So I'm going to call him Georgie from now on. Whoa. So we have Georgie. Jesus. And Mama's trying to keep it from. Okay. Anyway, yeah. Of course, George's going to find out. It's the newspaper. It's a big deal. It's a scandal in the whole town. So Papa's on the side of being like, my brother's a jackass, and my son's going to know about it anyway. Keep it from Grandpa because it'll kill him. Because, right, the reputation of these people, the reputation of his family would be destroyed. If I was a woman in this family, I'd take to drink too. Ooh. So so I'm a little shocked. And Papa drank some more of the tonic. They made like he was handing the bottle back for Mama to take those and said, I take to drink too. I'm a little confused by what's happening here. Okay, you know what? I think at this point I do need to figure out what tonic is. So I feel like there's some significance there. So I'm Googling tonic early 1900s. Uh, so we have spasmosidine nerve tonic was prepared by this group. It's typical of treatments available over the counter at pharmacists for many years. They often target women. They treated illnesses such as headaches, period pains, and nervous conditions. Oh, I see. So tonic is a broad term for that time period. Um, Again, all I googled was tonic early 1900s, and some of those tonics had like cocaine, opium, herbs and barks, and lots of alcohol. So, okay, tonics were alcoholic, and they were basically just drugs for kind of numbing the pain. Um, yeah, so tonics were a broad type of, yeah, it's a broad type of drink, usually alcoholic, and probably very bitter. Doesn't taste very good, and it has a lot of smells. It's very aromatic, and it's kind of it would like wake you up. It would have this. I kind of think with Aunt Louisa right here. Aunt Louisa cried again and said how everybody was bound to know it. Grandpa would kill him. She cried hard and had to stop. He soaked his handkerchief for Mama to wipe Aunt Louisa's face with it, then took the bottle of tonic out of the dashpan and put a few drops on the handkerchief and had her smell it, which kind of woke her up or something like that. And then he took a dose of the tonic out of the bottle, and Mama said, George, and drank some more of the tonic. I don't blame you. You guys should drink too, is basically what she's saying. He's saying. So they are women. Okay, so Aunt Louisa is part of the family. I totally misread that. Wow, this is hard. Okay, so Aunt Louisa is part of the family. These are three siblings. There are four siblings. These are three siblings: Aunt Louisa, the Papa, and Uncle. Jesus, forgot his name. Uncle Rodney. Okay, so Aunt Louisa, Uncle Rodney, and Papa, and then there's Georgie, who's the son, and then there's Mama. Okay, but these three are siblings, and he's giving the bottle because this is a hard time for everybody. And it's like a very potent drug, this bottle. Just smelling it has an effect. Okay. Now let me get this bond business straight. So bonds has to do with money. So this is going to be a big deal. Real bonds of Ma's. Okay. Aunt Louisa says. So harmony. So grandma, in this case. Do you mean he took that damn screwdriver and prized open your mother's desk too? Oh my lord! George, how can you? Wait, there's Georgie and George? Let me just double check that. Let me just check that George is the name of the father. Okay, so I'm gonna and George, right? So we have George and Georgie. Aunt Louisa. Okay. So we have Aunt Louisa, George, and Uncle Ronnie. They are all it might even be helpful to just write this down, but they are all siblings. And Georgie is the son, is the narrator. Okay, rough. Only Aunt Louisa was talking now. Quick now, not crying, not yet. And saying, so Papa's saying, oh my God, $500 was not enough? 2,500. Only they didn't want Grandpa to find that out. So Grandma put up roadblocks for security on the note, and how they said now had redeemed Grandma's note and the road bonds from the bank with some of the Compress Association's bond out of the safe in the Compress Association office. With Grandpa's name signed to it. Oh my God, that's a mess. So he knew Grandpa never signed that check, and Grandpa never even had 2,000. Oh man. And Mr. Pruitt and how Mr. Pruitt said he would wait until the after Christmas. That Uncle Ronnie would not go away, and did, and she went back upstairs to plead with Uncle Ronnie to commit the bonds. And she went to Uncle Ronnie's room where she had left him. The window was open; he was gone. So Uncle Ronnie doesn't have the money. He borrowed 2,500. He borrowed 500 from his brother, and oh, actually, it might be the other way around. Oh, the father is not the sibling. It's Mama, Aunt Louisa, and Uncle Ronnie that are siblings. Pretty sure, because woman in this family. So okay, like minor correction. Uh, but Uncle Ronnie left. Right, because he said your mother. He said your mother. So it might be the father. Papa is not in the same family as Uncle Ronnie and Aunt Louisa, which means that his wife is. So it would be the sisters and Uncle Ronnie. That's also explains why Papa hates Uncle Ronnie, but Mama's trying to defend him. Oh, that changes every. That fixes everything. Okay, I see. Oh man, this is tough. I This is much harder than I was expecting. Nobody knows where the bonds are, and Uncle Ronnie took those 2,500. 2,000 he took from his grandma, who signed it in her husband, the grandpa's name. And now Uncle Ronnie doesn't have that money. He probably spent it hanging out with women. He spent it on all these girls, all these married women even. And now he ran away when the sheriff came over with Mr. Pruitt, who is like the president of some sort of association. Wow. They're going back into Mottstown, and then it would be just today, and then tonight, and then it would be Christmas. The Georgie is still kind of wanting to have his Christmas, but everyone's crying. Pruitt's married. Why is the marriage suddenly coming out? Pruitt gave him the job. Painted common thing, traipsing up and down the streets all afternoon alone in a buggy, and the one only time Mrs. Church called on her, and that was because of Mr. Pruitt's position alone. Found her without corsets on. Mrs. Church told me she liquor on. Okay, I see. So we're talking about Pruitt's married, but now we're suddenly talking about Pruitt's wife, who is painted common thing, tracing over that. So she dresses in a sort of she dresses and behaves in a way that's not respectable. She smells of liquor. She doesn't have her corset on, so like her body kind of shows through. Okay. I forgot how Mottstown's connected. So I kind of want to figure that out. Because so they're not at Jefferson, but I'm gonna skip that for now because I feel like I can just figure that out later. I'm just gonna double check. The Compass Association's bonds were taken. Oh, he took it out of the safe in the Compass Association office. So Uncle Ronnie had redeemed Grandma's note and the road bonds from the bank with some of the Compass Association bonds. Okay, it's a little complicated, but basically, he's just doing funny business with money. Okay, here. Mrs. Pruitt that did it because Uncle Ronnie was young and easy. So Aunt Louisa is sort of defending her brother, Uncle Ronnie, her younger brother, Uncle Ronnie. She's blaming Mrs. Pruitt, that skank. Jesus. What a mess. Blaming Mrs. Pruitt for Uncle Rodney probably sleeping with Mrs. Pruitt and stealing the bonds out of Mr. Pruitt's organization. Oh my lord. So they did get to Grandpa's. I see. That's where Mottstown is Grandpa's place. Oh Jesus. Okay, so they live in Jefferson, mom and dad, and they're going back to Mottstown where Uncle Ronnie and everybody lives, I guess. Uncle Ronnie wasn't there, of course. Mandy. So some weird issue with the cook. Mandy had left. So Mandy escaped. So that feels like vaguely connected to Uncle Ronnie. Oh, okay, I see. They're slaves. So they think that Uncle Ronnie is trying to sell Mandy to someone else. That check was only dated 10 days ago. Okay. Right, Grandpa doesn't know anything that's happening. He's like doesn't know why his daughter Louisa is like suddenly vanishing because of this big crisis, and how Uncle Rodney is also how his son Uncle Rodney is also like vanishing. So at least his son-in-law, his son-in-law George, he's just glad that the son-in-law is here. So this is an interesting sentence. When he said that about this very circuitous child speak. When he said that about Christmas before Christmas, he always laughed. He laughed about being glad Christmas is over. So he's pretending he laughs because he's pretending that he doesn't want Christmas. He doesn't want to see his children, but he doesn't laugh after Christmas is actually over because he would actually miss his children. He wants to see his children. So Grandpa's kind of a softie. Maybe it wouldn't even be a quarter. God. So he's still waiting for that money. So after all. They think Mandy's maybe still in the house. Kind of strange. I'm gonna not investigate that because it's taking a long time to read this, but kind of strange. So they got the food, but they couldn't fool Uncle Rodney. I could have told them that. I could have told them that sometimes even wanted to wait until after dark to even begin to do business. It's funny. He kind of knows how Uncle Rodney works, but he's not sharing, and that would solve a lot of problems. That would solve a lot of problems if they can find Uncle Rodney. Because if they don't catch Uncle Rodney, even worse things will happen. The the person with the power to catch Rodney right now is just not sharing it. So I could see his face a little between the slats. He found Uncle Rodney. So he's getting Georgie to help him escape. So Uncle Ronnie is kind of locked up in the house somewhere. He's hidden somewhere, where Mandy's place would be. Man, that's ridiculous. 10 quarters all at once. $2.50 from a motherfucker that stole $2,500. They couldn't fool me either. Right, because he's on Uncle Ronnie's side, so he doesn't want to be fooled by his own family. Dude, this is infuriating. Watching the man all afternoon. Who's this man? So it's not Uncle Ronnie. The badge under his coat, so it's like a sheriff. Mr. Watts that catches the niggers. Oh, okay, I see. He's like a sheriff. Miss Sarah is the other daughter. Okay, that's the mom. Okay, so right now I'm seeing why that reviewer said aiding and abetting, because that's a phrase that you use when you're helping a criminal in his crime. So this son Georgie is unwittingly helping Uncle Ronnie be a total scumbag to his family and to the people of the town. And it's actually, I feel, okay, I thought it was gonna be funnier. Not that I'm not finding it very funny. I'm actually feeling worse over time. And I actually want them to catch him. I want them to catch him and do something to him, to Uncle Rodney. So I feel like because I want them to catch him, my prediction is he's going to escape. He's going to escape, and all of this sort of guilt will fall on the narrator. But even the narrator won't even know why he's guilty, and that will be the ultimate dramatic irony. Like this terrible thing happened. The narrator helped this terrible thing happen. Some and in the process of the terrible thing, maybe there will be some consequences. Like some like Uncle Rodney might have to hurt somebody or kill somebody or along the way or something. And 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 it'd be crazy if it's like his own mom or something like his sister. That'd be insane though. But I did kind of notice. I kind of vaguely remember something in the review that I was trying to skip about something might maybe happening to Aunt Louisa. But yeah, if something happens to Aunt Louisa, which I kind of remember from seeing a review, then what might happen is, yeah, the son might end up feeling horrible, but not really knowing his own role in it. And he's thinking about the 10 quarters. And he could buy a present for Grandpa. Uh, wow. That's that's painful. That's painful. But I didn't have the time to do that. So it's dinner time. So this is going to be real bad if they don't find him because the signature is actually on Grandpa. The signature is actually on Grandpa. So Grandpa will have to come up with the money, which means the children will probably have to help, and so they're going to be pissed. And Uncle Fred and the father are not even technically part of the family, so it's the sisters that are going to have to pay. Okay. At least we have got him. So they are pretty sure that they have. Oh my God. So they are sure that they have. Jesus. They're pretty sure they have Uncle Ronnie, right? Them or of the money. What's this them? Is this the slaves? To sell them? I'm like kind of confused by like exactly the mechanism of this, of this theft of Mandy. But and so what's Fred looking for? But for the sake of time, I'm going to keep pushing on. Okay, I'm going to go with less understanding. I'm going to move forward. So Uncle Fred and Papa and Grandpa came to supper. So hooray for it. Where in hell is that damn boy? Right. So not slaves, but apparently you could still sell the servant. They couldn't fool him. He's breathing. He wasn't laughing. That's kind of creepy, right? He's not laughing exactly, but he's so he's. I can imagine the chuckle. Like he's gonna leave, and he's desperate. He's a desperate man. So maybe his laugh is a little bit hysterical. Sounded like when he was laughing at words. So he's like, oh, oh. So he's actually like really excited. He's about to leave. He's about to escape. By God, someday you'll be as good a businessman as I am, and I won't make you a liar much longer either. So now you haven't you? He needs 10 quarters, so he's hustling his own nephew. Oh my God. So he's getting his nephew to steal 20 quarters. Ah, Jesus. So he probably needs the quarters for like a train or something, but Jesus, this is ugly. It's getting worse and worse. I feel worse and worse just reading this. Oh Lord. So that might be Mrs. Pruitt. Bring the jewelry. Bring all the jewelry. That might be Mrs. Pruitt. F5. Oh, okay. This the tension is building, and I feel very. I think I'm gonna read even like I feel very immersed, and I can't wait to get some relief from this because this is painful. The tension is building. This is gonna end badly. This is going to end badly. He's gonna escape, maybe even successfully, or he might die. I don't know. But I don't think he's gonna die. I think he's gonna escape successfully, maybe with Mrs. Pruitt. And God, I can't handle it. I just need to read. I need to finish this. Candles, breeze, fireworks. So it's Christmassy. This is the night before Christmas. I can't tell. I don't tell him. Huh? He's going with Uncle Ronnie. You don't want to know who it is. You don't want. You want to even forget what house it is. See, and then you'll pay me the. Yes, he said, cousin. Yes, get out of here quick. Okay, so this is a horrible person. She never had time to say very much. So this is a change in the plan. A man ran out from behind another bush and grabbed us both. He grabbed it by the mouth. Oh man. But maybe after. Oh, he's gonna get. He began to work in the compass. He had to. So he says to be at the corner in 10 minutes and to bring all the jewelry. He said for me to say that twice. Bring all the jewelry. Oh my God, the boy is confused. Oh, this is totally wrong. For my prediction was totally wrong. So they're setting up a sting. They're setting him up. Come and help Carrie. So they're gonna draw him out. That's not enough. You tell him this too. She says to give you a piece of the jewelry. Understand? I just want my 20 quarters. So the boy, Georgie, is finding a lady being manhandled, and he just completely he's so focused on the 20 quarters. He doesn't even care about the lady. He's just talking to the man. Oh my god. This would be such a crazy movie. Okay. She said for you to come and help carry it, for me to say that twice. Then I said, "Where's my 20 quarters?" So actually, he's getting impatient. So that's partly why he lies. She said for you to come and help carry it. Um, that is a lie. He must know that's a lie, but he's impatient. Where's my 20 quarters? He already jumped out, but he jumped across. All right, all right. Get to hell on home. I'd rather have my 20 quarters tonight, I said. But because when he whirled around, he almost touched me. Then I jumped back out of the bushes in time. He stood there cussing at me, stick in his hand. I turned and ran, so he's scared. Not see him again until next summer. He's not going to get the 20 quarters. Like, would be like my nickel, as in he was not actually get paid because when Mrs. Tucker was sick, he wasn't paid. Here, the firecrackers are only late now, so now he's feeling sad. I couldn't buy Grandpa a present even when Rob came back and gave me a 20 quarters. So I was listening to firecrackers, thinking about how maybe I could tell Grandpa that I wanted to buy him a present. 15 cents instead of a dime anyway. Shoot it. Oh my god, shooting firecrackers. They're not shooting firecrackers. They shot him. Only they just shot 5 of them fast, and when they didn't shoot anymore, I thought that maybe in a minute they would shoot the skyrockets and Roman candles too. But they didn't. They shot the 5 firecrackers right quick and then stopped, and I stood by the buggy. They came out of the houses and hollered at one another. They killed him, and they began to see the men running toward the house where Uncle Ronnie had gone. I'm pretty sure it's Mr. Pruitt. Then a man came out of the yard fast and went up the street towards Grandpa's, and I thought at first it was Uncle Ronnie, that he had forgotten the buggy, until I saw that it wasn't. Never came back, so I went on toward the yard to where the men were, because I could still watch the buggy too and see Uncle Ronnie if he came back out of the bushes. Carrying something long. The body. Hellfire. It's one of those kids, the one from Jefferson. And I could see then they were carrying a window blind with something wrapped in a quilt on it. So they're carrying him in a big window blind, like I guess like a curtain of some sort. He thought it was a jewelry, but Uncle Ronnie's not anywhere. Said that he'd be all right. Damn it, get him on out of here. No, if it belonged to anybody now, it belonged to Grandpa. So then I knew what it was. It's a side of beef. From all the husbands in Mottstown. Jesus. That side of beef comment is so painful. He's kind of joking to the nephew about the dead body of the guy he just killed. Yeah, this is a side of beef, and it's a present for Grandpa. They're angry at Grandpa too, I think. They're vindictive enough to share the body of Uncle Ronnie to Grandpa. So Grandpa's gonna go. He's gonna be shocked. Okay. Didn't know there was a part 6. Here we go. It's a present for Grandpa, I said. Oh my god. Oh my god. Rosie's like, I'm not an idiot. There's a dead body. I'm gonna hide the boy. Okay. We're gonna sleep at a lady's house named Mrs. Jordan. So, he's afraid he's gonna get in trouble for slipping out of the house. Under the house. And then all of a sudden, Rosie saw the possum. It was in a persimmon tree in Mrs. Jordan's yard, and see it against the moonlight too. And I remember run toward the house with Rosie. You, Georgie, you get back here. But I didn't stop. We could get the ladder and get the possum, and we give it to Grandpa along with the side of meat, and it wouldn't even cost a dime. And then Grandpa might even give me a quarter too. And then when I got the 20 quarters from Uncle Ronnie, I would have 21 quarters, and that will be fine. Oh my god. I was not expecting that. I was not expecting that. Oh my god. I was expecting an ending where. Okay, so I thought he was. So, first, my prediction was he's gonna escape, and the consequences of his escape is gonna fall on the family, and Georgie's gonna feel kind of guilty, but not really know why. That was my sort of general prediction. I was totally wrong. They killed him. They killed Uncle Ronnie, and what happens is Georgie's in a state of suspense because he doesn't because he really doesn't know what's happening. So he just wants Uncle Ronnie to give him the 20 quarters, and he's waiting for that for the next day, and he just wants to give Grandpa the gift. But there's a parallel thing going on because there's a Grandpa being given the gift of the side of meat by the town. And so Grandpa is going to be he's going to be devastated. But that's the reality. And then Georgie's trying to give a free gift, a possum, which I guess you can eat. And that's so pure, And he's kind of an idiot child, but he's not a bad kid. He just has this weird fascination with money. He wants to give Grandpa a gift. So you can't even fully blame him. Because he's just a kid. He's so excited to see the possum. Oh my gosh, that happened so quick that at the very end, just that feeling. This just literally this last paragraph, it just suddenly I'm just like in a state of I'm just sort of like, sort of zoned out, kind of just like figuring out what's gonna happen, and then at this very last moment, he starts running, and then this get the possum and give it to Grandpa along with the side of meat that killed me. Oh my god. So it was good. I'm glad I had like a struggle with the story in the sense of like, I'm like learning to read the story. So I was really glad that first time when I didn't really catch who was saying what, where I went back and sort of double checked, because I was learning to read the stream of consciousness style of this story. So I went back and I made sure I did that. But along the way, there were bits, especially with like the bonds and whatnot. That kind of like messed me up, like who's doing the what. But I was like, forget it. I'm gonna move on from that one. I sort of let that go. And then there was another moment, I think, not with the bonds, but with the towns, like which town. But there's basically Jefferson and Mottstown. That's good enough, you know. And then maybe there was one more, but basically there were parts where I just like didn't fully understand all the details, but I was okay with it. I just moved on, right? And I had to make those decisions. Like how what like do I really want to understand 100% of everything? I don't need to, and I had to make those calls. And I think those calls were good calls. It was good to just get back and know what the characters were feeling. I think that was really important. Um, but it wasn't. But it was also good to just not go back and not bother with some of the details of the mechanisms of like, oh, that was a thing. There were the towns, there was the bonds, and there was also the exactly how he's still in the house but he's gonna escape. All three of these I didn't fully understand, but it was good to just sort of move along, because the mechanisms were less important than just like the situation of how the family is feeling and what the consequences would be. At least for me, I feel like those mechanisms wouldn't have added on a lot of value to the story for me. So, yeah, I mean, I read that conclusion. I was devastated. But I'm sure for other readers, if you read the possum, it'd be pretty random. So we'd have to go back and reconstruct that experience. Oh, man. Hard story. It was a hard story, even for me. But by the end, it's so good. Just this kid, you want to hate the kid. You want to hate the kid, but you can't. And Rodney, he actually gets what he kind of deserves, but then, Grandpa's going to be devastated. Grandpa, who barely is even a character in this story, he's going to be devastated. So actually, we have such a minimal characterization of Grandpa, but like you actually kind of care about Grandpa by the end because Rosie cared about him, Georgie cared about him, and we have these observations about how Grandpa actually loves Christmas. And he's sort of a cranky old, grandpa, but still, you love him. You feel soft towards him. That was very good. Very technical and very good. All right. That was that will be good. Or that will be fine. That will be fine. Oh, I totally missed the That Will Be Fine title. That Will Be Fine. I actually thought it would be more about the uncle being like, "Oh, that'll be fine." Like telling the nephew, "Hey, good job. That'll be fine." Sort of like sending him on these errands. Good job. That'll be fine. But actually, it's the nephew himself. It's the son and nephew himself being like, "Oh, and if this happened, that will be fine. And oh, if that would happen, that will be fine." Like he's just having this little dream of getting the 20 or the 10 quarters at first, or the 2 quarters at first, which becomes 10 quarters, which becomes 20 quarters, and that will be fine. And that will be fine. But this is not fine. God dang, dude, that's so good. All right. All right, and that will be fine. And I am not fine.